Hello everyone. Thank you for joining. I just want to be sure that we're currently live right now. Just give me a second. Okay, we are live. Thank you so much for joining. If you're joining on YouTube or wherever you're joining from, thank you so much. Happy New Year. Happy New Month. It's still safe to say Happy New Year, I guess. This is the month of love. What are we doing to put a smile on people's faces this month of love? So I'm so excited because it's the first episode of the On Purpose series for this year, 2026. I'm very, very excited. And today we're going to be talking about transitions and how leadership and purpose is intertwined. But before we go into the nitty gritty of today's session, I want to share a story that I believe would resonate with each and every one of us because everybody is on a transition journey one way or the other. While moving to Ireland, it was a new terrain. It was a new phase of my life. I had a lot of questions. How do I position myself to connect with the right person and still make global impact? There are certain questions that we face when we're different transition moments in our life. And our speaker today is going to share some insights. Our speaker, which I believe has cracked the code for global influence and finding purpose, will share his experience and things that will lead us to guide us to find purpose and fulfill our purpose. So guys, stay tuned. And without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today. Our speaker is Mr. Seyi Agbede. Hopefully I pronounced that name well because I've been practicing. So Mr. Seyi is a leadership development specialist, an executive coach, an author, as speakers passionate about helping individuals and organizations unlock their full potential. Through his growth code framework, he guides leaders to gain clarity and build sustainable success and legacy. He has a background in education and leadership development across public and private sectors. Mr. Shea is known for his practical, inclusive, and impact driven approach to leadership and personal development. So, without further ado, if your hands are not busy, I would really love to see it in the comment section. A round of applause, please, guys. Welcome, Mr. Sheye Agaje. So, I'd add you to the stage now. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining today. I really, really appreciate
Thank
your time.
you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and doing this. And incidentally, so this is the first of the series this year. So amazing. And keep up the great
Yeah.
work that you're doing as well.
Thank you. I would. Thank you so much. So let's just dive right into it. Um, your book, The 1% Code, right? I was reading it a while back and I saw you transition. Although you're still in the education space, I mean, coaching is still education in some way or form, although it's not the conventional education. You move from being a math teacher to being an executive coach and a leader. So I want you to walk us through how you made the leap from that. What happened? How did you transition from being a math teacher to a leadership coach?
All right. So thank you very much. And you made reference to my book there, The 1% Code. And
Yeah.
just for the benefit of those that may not understand the concept behind the 1% Code. So sometime in 2023, so my first degree was in statistics, right? So I studied math and statistics in my first degree. So I do a lot of work around statistics, probably because I'm a very visual person as well. And I love data. So I usually work with a lot of data. So I came across some data in 2023 that talked about how about 65% of the world economy is managed or controlled by 1% of the world population. And then about 85% of the world economy is managed by only 10% of the population. Now, what that interprets to is that about 90% of about the 8 billion people that live on Earth control merely 15% of the available resources on Earth. Now, that was quite alarming. And what I decided to do was okay, for these guys at 1%, but this guy, the top 1% that actually control about 60% of this world population. How do you get there? What do you do to get into what I call the 1% club, which was what that book was trying to address, right? Now, you've talked about how I've transitioned, even though yes, I still I'll say I have the best of both worlds, right? I'm still in the
Yeah.
education space, but I say I love working with everybody. So I work with children, I work with adults, I work with everybody, and it's all about how to transform the mind. So my personal vision that has become the vision of my organization is making the world a much better place to live in, right? If you don't want to add to one mind at a time. So it's all about transforming the mind. So the changes that we're looking for starts with the mind. And that's what it is that I do. And that's how I was able, to start off, yes, in the education space. So, in life, there's you can always have a vision, but your objective per time they change. So let me give a practical example for that, what I'm talking about. So a child that starts off an education career or education journey, his vision is to get educated, right? But when he goes into the first level school, so the primary school or the nursery school, his vision is still to get educated. However, his objective at that time is to probably leave with maybe a school certificate or whatever it is, depends on the part of the world that you are. Now, by the time he goes into the second level school, his vision still remains the same, to get an education. However, his objective at that time could be to get, maybe in Nigeria, you'll be talking about the SSCE certificate. In Ireland, here, you'll be talking about the junior living or the living cert and everything. So your vision still remains the same. However, it could change. Your objective from time to time could change. So by the time you go into the third level, your vision is still to get an education. However, your objective is to get maybe a degree, a first degree, a DSc or an MSc or things like that. So even though I started my journey in the education space, which was the journey of making the world a much better place by transforming one mind at a time, that objective changes over time. So I'm still in the business of transforming minds, right? But I'm doing it in different contexts. And that's why we do a lot of events around the world now, developing leadership capacity across the board.
Thank you so much for that. Changing the mind, changing the mind. I was just hearing that. I hope this session will also transform our audience minds. The word finding and fulfilling purpose is almost very alien to someone dealing with depression, dealing with trauma, suicidal thoughts, and all that. How can that person come into a space of changing their mind to finding and fulfilling purpose? Because it's almost like they're in two different worlds. They are dealing with maybe trauma and stuff like that. What's like the healing process to come into a renewing of their mind, to change their mind, to start finding and fulfilling their purpose? What would you say to someone like that if you probably ever met someone like that?
Okay, so the first thing is we need to understand the concept of purpose, right? A lot of people, the reason why they could feel depressed, feel unfulfilled, or feel certain ways is because they have a wrong understanding of what purpose is, what their life is all about. And my definition of purpose, and it's not really mine, I mean, it's just what I like to use, says purpose. In fact, this was made popular by the late, I can't remember his name right now, but
Miles
it's
Monroe?
Miles Monroe. Fantastic. Thank you very much. The late
Yeah.
Miles Monroe. And he always says that purpose is the original intention behind the creator of a thing. I'll take that again. Purpose is the original intention behind the creator of a thing. Now, there's a lot to unpack in that. Okay. Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. So I believe my purpose, it is the original intention behind God before He created me. Now, whatever it is that's watching this believes in, your purpose is the original intention behind whoever it is or whatever it is that created you. Now, what that means is your purpose precedes you. So ever before you landed on the face of the earth, right, there was a purpose for you. So some people feel like, when some people are looking for purpose or they're trying to get purpose and stuff like that. So imagine this. Okay, I have a mobile phone here. Imagine Before this mobile phone was created, right? The person that manufactured it, this is the Samsung phone. So when Samsung were going to manufacture this thing, they had in their mind what they wanted this mobile phone to do. So they had, oh, I need this mobile phone to be able to answer phone calls. I also needed to have a camera so you can take pictures and so many other things like that. Now, it wasn't as if Samsung manufactured something, they didn't know what it was, and then the purpose in the course of looking around, they discovered, oh, this thing can make phone, it can make calls. I think I'm going to call it a mobile phone, right? That is the wrong concept. That purpose was there ever before the mobile phone was created. So if you understand that, then what you need to do is find out from whoever manufactured the mobile phone, where you manufactured this, what was the purpose behind it? What was the intention? But when people are feeling discouraged and feeling unfulfilled, is many times they're trying to find their purpose from other people around them. So you look at someone and you feel maybe you go to, for example, research talks about the fact that times that people feel depressed the most, one of the times they feel depressed the most is when they go to meetups of alumni societies and things like that. So you meet your friends that you graduated from school with about 15, 20 years ago, and then you're all together in the same room, and then they're talking about, oh, I've achieved this, I've achieved that. And then people begin to feel depressed at that time. Why? They are looking at their purpose being fulfilled from the lens of the people that they are meeting around them. Society determines for some people what your purpose is. So you go on Instagram and you see all the blings and you see all the flashy things and all of that. And because that is what society has defined to you as what your purpose is, and if you feel you're not meeting up to that, you become depressed. So you need to understand that everybody has their purpose, and that purpose is not determined by social media, it's not determined by your family and friends. It is determined by the one person or the one thing it is that you come from. That is what purpose is, and it is important that we understand what that purpose is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Your purpose precedes you. So whoever wants to find their purpose has to go to the creator or whatever created them, right? To sort of align their purpose with the purpose of the creator. So society, you said something about society, at times people go to the media to sort of determine what their purpose is. We're currently living in an attention driven society, right? Whereby people's attention, Instagram, everything is vying for our attention. We're in the information age. So, like, for example, you also mentioned like you're a Christian, right? Nehemiah was building a wall and he said, I'm too busy, that I can't calm down, I can't be distracted. So, what way can people, have that kind of focus to pay attention to their attention, basically, and not, go to social media for sort of validation and things like that? Because I feel that's like the biggest roadblock to many people finding and fulfilling purpose. So, how do people frame their mind to have that kind of Nehemiah's concentration and focus to find and fulfill purpose? What would you advise someone like that to do?
Okay, so in terms of, let's start with finding purpose. How do you discover, identify what your purpose is? And there are several things I usually give in terms of that. So the first is look up. Like I said, your purpose precedes you. So one way to find out what your purpose is to ask the person or whoever it is or whatever it is that made you. That's one thing. Another is to look behind. What do I mean by that? Sometimes your experiences will determine your expectations, right? What you have experienced in the past, good or bad, will shape what your present and your future should be. So if someone has gone through, apologies to some people that may have experienced this, maybe a traumatic childhood, that person can grow up, and their purpose is the reason why they've gone through such an experience is so that they understand the pain and ensure that others do not go through the same experience. So when you look back at your experiences, it could be an indication of what your purpose is. So that's the second one. So first is look up, look behind. Then another is look around you. Okay. You know, people say, I say to people that the fastest way to rise in life is by being a problem solver.
Mm.
Okay. There was a time I used to make prayers for people, and I would say to them, may you encounter problems this week. And they used to look at me, what kind of a prayer is that? Why will you be praying for me to have problems? But the idea behind that is the more problems you solve, the more value you create. And the more value you create, the more valuable you become. And then you can negotiate that value for whatever it is you want. If you want money, you negotiate the value for money, right? You know, when people talk about time is money, time isn't money. So, take, for example, if I have a hospital, a doctor, a surgeon works at the hospital, and maybe a clerk works in the hospital. Both of them can put in 1 hour a day in the hospital. That's
Mhm.
time, but they are not going to earn the same thing in the same hospital, even though they are putting the same time into it. What is different between the clerk and the doctor is the value of what their time is. So the doctor
Mhm.
has, or the surgeon has probably spent decades learning certain procedures and has become an expert at something. So even if they give just 1 hour of their time, is much more valuable than a clerk that is giving 1 hour of their time as well. So understanding that your way to the top is through problem solving. The reason why Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world today is because he solves more problems than anyone on earth. Case closed. So usually the problems that you identify easily is an indication to the purpose for which it is that you were created. So someone identify the problems around childbirth. The fact that you identify that problem easily and it affects you is an indication to the fact that that's what you were supposed to solve. Mark Zuckerberg was passionate about solving one problem: communication. He started back in college, in high school, right? Now, he's one of the richest guys in the world today because he's still solving that one problem: communication. But right now, he's doing it for about 4 billion people on Earth. So, looking around you, everyone around you, everything you see around you, those problems that you can identify are indications of the purpose that you were designed to solve. So that's another thing. So we've talked about looking up, we've talked about looking behind, we've talked about looking around you. Another way you can identify that purpose is looking within, looking inside you. Okay. Now, just like I talked about the mobile phone earlier, right? Just imagine I didn't know what this device was meant for. But looking at it, I could see that this has a phone, it has a microphone, it has cameras, it has speakers, it has a screen. Because of the features I see, I can begin to predict what this thing was designed to do. Because it has a camera and a microphone, it's probably something for communication. I probably would not think it was supposed to be a hammer because it doesn't have those features. So when you look at yourself, what are those giftings that you have? What is that thing you can do effortlessly? Something other people struggle to do, but you do effortlessly. That is an indication of the features that were put inside of you to be able to fulfill the purpose. So just in case you don't know who your creator is, right, and you don't have the opportunity to ask your creator, you can look within. What have I been packaged with? What do I have inside of me? How can you can begin to identify? So for someone that is fantastic at encouraging people or talking and motivating people, it is an indication that that is probably what it is that you are designed to do. For people that have the capacity, for someone like me, I have the gifting to be able to make something very complex simple to people. Little wonder why I'm in transformation of minds today. I look at challenging concepts and I know how to make it easy for people, either for children or for adults. That's an indication to tell you what your purpose is. So we've looked at looking up, looking behind, looking around you, looking within, and then obviously looking ahead of you. What's your vision for life? What's your expectation for life? All of those will help you to identify what your purpose is. Now, how do you begin to develop the mindset towards that? That's what you were talking about. Now, the mind is a very powerful tool, right? I mean, the mind is estimated to be able to carry out as many as 10 quadrillion actions per second without you even knowing about it. But there are certain things the mind cannot do. The mind does not understand the difference between imagination and reality. Your mind doesn't know that. Okay. So, whatever you get into your mind drives and runs your life. What do I mean, or how do I mean, how do I explain this? If you drive, or anybody that's listening to this, if you drive, right, imagine, think back for a bit to the first time you started learning how to drive. Okay. You got behind the wheels. I don't know if it was a stick car or if it was automatic, whatever it is. You got behind the wheels and you probably were very conscious around that. You held the steering so tight. If anyone spoke to you at that time, you could probably give them a punch in the face. Can't you see I'm trying not to crash the car? You're very focused on the steering, right? But
Yeah.
after a while, you do that same activity over and over again. You now get to the point where you're behind the wheels, you're driving, and you're gisting with someone in the car, right? You are not even focusing your attention on what is happening around you, on whether you're stepping on the accelerator or on the brake or none of that. You're not thinking about that. You are talking with someone beside you, but you're not crashing the car. What is going on? What is happening is your mind, see, in that scenario, you're not the driver of the car. You are just a passenger in the car. Your mind is actually what is driving the car at that time of the day, right? Now, for many of us, almost all of us, that's what is happening with our lives. Your mind is actually driving what you achieve in your life. So the question is, what is in that mind? Because that mind is going to determine where you go to. You are not the one determining the destination of your life. Unfortunately, it's your mind that determines where your life goes to, right? Just like when you're driving, it's your mind that determines where you get to. Okay, so how do you now begin to develop that mind? There are several things that develop the mind. Now, the thing is, you need to understand that the unfortunate thing is, while you are born, until you develop consciousness of it, you are not responsible for what goes into your mind. You are not responsible for your mind. So from a child that was born, a child that is born blank with nothing in their mind, but then their society, their environment, the family begin to determine what life is to that child. So the child grows up seeing life through the lens of the people around them, unfortunately, not through their own lens. Now, for you to be able to develop the right mindset, because if what was installed there before you gain consciousness was the wrong thing, if you don't correct that, there's nothing you can do, because from there is how the issues of how your life will be governed. Okay. And the thing about mindset is your mind cannot be vacuum. There is no vacuum in your mind. Imagine I said to you, for the next 2 minutes, don't think about this webinar. What's going to happen? All you will think about for the next 2 minutes is about the webinar. The reason is because your mind cannot not think. So your mind can't have a vacuum. Okay. So while we are trying to help you to stop thinking negative thoughts, the only way to stop thinking negative thoughts is to start thinking positive thoughts. So for you that you're saying, okay, I don't want to think like this anymore, I want to stop thinking. You can't stop thinking it. What you need to do is replace what you're thinking about. So how do you get to replace what you're thinking about? Now begin to focus on what it is that you want to achieve. Where do you want to go to? So hang around with people that look like where you want to get to, right? For those that are Christians and you want to talk about what your maker imagines you to be, focus on that. Focus on people that have achieved things that you want to achieve. Focus and surround yourselves with positive things. That would help replace some of those negative things that you have there. Some of them are feeling like that because they focused on the social media that has determined what life should be. Now, for you to change that is to change what you're watching on social media as well. Okay, so those are some of the ways it is that you can help to cultivate that mindset to help you to achieve the purpose it is that you need to achieve in life.
Thank you so much. I almost lost my. Thank you for that journey, for explaining. I noticed you mentioned how we find purpose. We have to look behind, look up, look within, look around you, looking ahead of you. Thank you for sharing that. I've never heard it explained in such a way like that. Thank you so much. And you also mentioned like um how some of our pain can be a tool for finding purpose. You gave an example of someone that went through a traumatic experience, how they can use that to find purpose. Thank you so much. Giving someone who has had a traumatic experience or their background experience, or even using your life as a case study, for example, do you believe that anyone could fulfill purpose? Anyone could find and fulfill purpose in this current day and age, given whatever dire situation that they must have been faced with?
Okay. Like I said earlier, I'm a Christian, right? And
Mm-hmm.
apologies to non-Christians that are listening, but the Bible says that God will never expose us to anything beyond our capacity. So if God has deemed me fit to be placed on the face of this earth at this particular time within the universe, it is because he knows strongly that I have within me the capacity to succeed and fulfill the purpose it is for which he put me here. So that alone should give me the confidence to say, yes, I know I can fulfill that purpose, regardless of how challenging the environment might be. Now, the truth is, we live in a very, very difficult times. Okay, but every situation has pros and cons. I mean, 100 years ago, the environment it is we live in right now is totally different from what they lived in back then. I'm not sure if it was better to even live back in those days as well. I mean, we had less distractions of like things. They were not chasing vanity metrics in those days. I mean, for those who understand what the
Yeah.
vanity metrics, they were not chasing all of those things. They were just living their lives and you know probably happier than we are today. But then considering the fact that the situation today as well makes it easier to be able to reach to be able to have greater impact. I know you've talked about having global relevance, global influence, and things like that. Back in those days, 100 years ago, if I needed to impact, so personally, one of my visions in making the world a much better place is to be able to reach 3 million people, affect 3 million people with my initiatives, my positive initiatives in about 5 years, to reach 3 million people in 5 years. If I was going to do that 100 years ago, right, it would have taken me probably my whole lifetime. If at all, I'll be able to make that because I probably would have to travel from one location to the other, meet people in rooms and all of that. But today we live in an age where I can sit down in my room, host an online webinar like we're doing right now. I can have 1 million people join one webinar, right? So if I do that 3 times from the comfort of my room, I can reach 3 million people. That's the world it is that we're living today. So the fact that we have so many more challenges today, it also means we have so many more advantages that people did not have several years ago. So that should help us understanding that it is possible. You will not be placed here if you didn't have the capacity to succeed. Things may look difficult. You may seem not to have it figured out right now, but trust me, you have it in you to succeed.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think this last question is for me personally because I mean I want to know. I believe you have cracked the code for global influence, and you said something about like how the richest man on earth is able to negotiate value. Can you just go back to that and explain what you mean by that? You've cracked the code for global influence. How would you tell someone who is currently in a transition phase, maybe move to a new environment, how do you think they should have that mindset of global influence and global relevance and adding value to society and to people at large? What would be your advice to that person?
Okay. So you talked about something earlier. I have what is called the growth code framework. So that's a proprietary framework that I developed to help people. Because what I realized is a lot of people struggle with life because there's really no proven framework, no steps, guidelines on how to achieve certain things. And like I said earlier, I'm someone that I know how to make complex things simple. So I created a simple framework to help people to be able to navigate these things. Now, The growth is an acronym there. So the G stands for goal clarity, right? A lot of people are not making progress in life because they can't even identify what their goals are. They don't even know exactly what it is that they want to achieve, right? And for someone that doesn't know exactly what they want to achieve, unfortunately, life will carry you to wherever life feels you should go to, not where you think you should go to. It's like I want to go on a journey. I come out of my house, I go to the bus stop, and I just enter the next train or the next bus that I see, regardless of where it is going to, which is how a lot of people are living their lives. And then they arrive somewhere that they didn't plan to arrive, and they're wondering, how did I get here? You didn't have any destination in the first place. So what you should do is when you go out to the train station, you should have a destination in mind. Okay, I'm leaving from Dublin. I'm going to Cork, for example. Any train that isn't going to Cork, I don't get on that train. That's how we should live our life. So the first thing is goal clarity. You need to understand where it is that you're going to. Because of our time, I may not be able to expand on that. I can talk for a whole day about goal clarity. Now, the next is R. Now, when you have the goal, which is where it is you want to go to, the next thing is the R, the refined strategy. What is the strategy you wish to use to arrive at this destination? So, like I gave earlier, I'm leaving from Dublin. I'm going to Cork, for example. Now, what strategy? How am I going to make this journey? Am I going to take a bus? Am I going to take a train? Am I going to walk? Am I going to use a bicycle? Whatever it is, you need to define the strategy. If you look at the war, we have a lot of wars in the world today. Unfortunately, the battle isn't won at the battlefront. The battle is won in the strategy room, where the strategy for execution of the war. Recently, we had America take over, the Venezuelan governments and everything. I sat down to look at how that happened, and that whole episode was done because they had the right strategy. They overpowered the Venezuelans to the point that they were so confused while all of that was happening within a few minutes that the whole thing took place, because they had a strategy. So ever before they went out ahead to execute anything, the strategy is important. So when you have your goal, it's fine. You have the goal. You know what you want to achieve. The next thing is your strategy. So your goal, you talk about global influence. What do you want to affect in the world? How do you want to do it? All of those comes under your goals. Then the strategy. How do you want to do that? Okay. Then the O stands for optimized performance. Okay. At this level is where you now design systems, because a lot of people feel to achieve more, you need to work more. No, that's the wrong mindset. What I help people to do is to scale to multiple figures without sacrificing time, family, or freedom. Some people feel to achieve more means you need to work more. Take, for example, back in elementary physics, we learned about a simple tool, a lever, right? A lever has the effort, the fulcrum, and the load. Okay, now, for those of you that remember the elementary physics, if the fulcrum is at the middle between the lever and between the effort and the load, it takes equal amount, of effort to be able to move the same amount of load. But if I begin to move around the position of the fulcrum, so if I move that fulcrum closer to the load, for example, I would require less effort to move the same amount of load. Using that concept, to move more load, to achieve more in life, doesn't necessarily mean I have to do more. What I need to do is create a system that makes me work less and still achieve more. And like I talk about systems, I use the acronym for systems: saving yourself time, energy, and money. Systems, saving yourself time, energy, and money. So when you create a system, it helps you to be able to achieve a lot more than what you could on your own. So that's the O. Optimized performance. Then the W is wealth creation. I just talked about the wealth distribution around the world, where 85% of the world economy is in the hands of just 10% of the world population, right? How do you now get to create wealth? And some people talk about, I talk about, wealth creation and things. And there are people that I've had people ask me, what do you need all this money for in life? I mean, it's not necessary for you to have all the money in life, but the size of your vision will determine the size of the provision that you require. For someone like me, my vision is to empower 3 million people. I need a lot of money to empower 3 million people. That's why I'm always looking for a lot of money. So your wealth creation is important. Now, for some of you that all you need is just, to take care of yourself, take care of your family, that vision is okay. It's a very small one. Small money, you are fine with that. You live your life, you go. But people like us, and Elon Musk is thinking of going beyond. So there's a difference between local impact, international, global. Now, some people are at the global level where they are affecting the whole world, global. But some people are beginning to think beyond that. They're thinking galactic, right? They have
Hmm.
conquered Earth, so to say. They're beginning to think of how do we conquer Mars? How do we conquer space? Because they are thinking of how to affect the whole world. So for you that all you want to do is affect yourself and your family, it's okay. You can do that. But for people like us that are thinking bigger than that, forgive us when we are thinking about wealth creation. So that's the W. Then the T is transformative action. Some people have all these goals, they have all these systems, but if you don't work it, it's not going to work. It's going to remain there, right? Until you take actions, nothing's going to happen. So that's the T, transformative action. And then the H is what ties everything together. That is holistic success. Because some people, in the process of chasing career success or business success or entrepreneurship success, they sacrifice time, they sacrifice their family, they sacrifice their freedom. How do you ensure that while you are succeeding in your career, your business, whatever it is, you're also succeeding in other areas of your life? Your family is not against you, is not regretting that you're successful because you're away from the family. That's where you tie all of that together. So that's the growth code that I use to help people. And like I said, it's quite intense, but that's just a summary of what the growth code is. And with that, you can begin to develop influence and across these different sectors. Like I said, you can start with the local influence, then go to international influence, then go to global influence. And for those that have the muscle to go, you can now begin to think of galactic influence.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing the model you just shared right now with us. And the last question, if you can actually answer this in a concise way as possible, the last question for this session is, I'll reframe what you said earlier. You know how a child is born and then they begin to get they see through the lens of people around them, right? It's like a child is born an empty canvas and then people constantly paint on them, right? So maybe over the years, they get thoughts and ideas from their environment and people around them. And say the person, before the person comes to his or herself and being able to identify what are their purposes or what things they are meant to do, they've maybe lost track of time. How can this person, so to say, bounce back or compress the time that they have lost or they feel they have lost in getting all these people's ideas and in their mind? How can someone bounce back and come to realizing themselves and maybe compress time, if you can put it that way?
Okay, so the best time to make progress in your life was yesterday. The next best time is today. It doesn't matter what has happened, right? Lateness is only in the eyes of whoever it is that you look at it. And there are several people that started somewhat late in their life. Look at KFC today. He started KFC at the age of 67. He had retired when he started KFC. So that's an indication to tell you that there's never a time that is too late, right? What you need to do is go back and understand exactly what it is that you're supposed to, achieve. You are not in a competition against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You are in competition against yourself. You will be judged by your own standards, what you achieve within the framework, within the talents, within the abilities that you have been given, right? So, yes, you may have missed it. And in my book as well, I shared some of those things in there, right? Where it seemed like I was being delayed. I had some of my friends that had graduated earlier than I had, and that all of that, and they had done so many other things ahead of me. So it seemed like I was behind. But when I realized that I'm not really in competition against anybody, what I need to do is to ensure that I fulfill the purpose that I'm supposed to achieve, right? And that's and a definition of excellence. That excellence is not being perfect. Perfection is not achievable, but excellence is being better today than you were yesterday. For as long as I can achieve that every day of my life, I'm fulfilled. If I'm better at something today than I was yesterday, then I'm fulfilled. Purpose achieved. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Very quick and concise. Thank you for explaining that to us. So we're done with this session and we're going into the think fast session, right? I'll just throw in a question and the first thing that comes to your mind, right? You just give us the answer to that. So my question is, if you're stranded in an island, would you ask for a map to guide you out or would you ask for a guide? And which one would you pick and why? Would you ask for a map or you'd ask for a guide? A guide like a person, a tour guide?
Well, I would ask for a map. And the reason is this: I like to figure things out myself. And just in case there are other people stranded on that island as well, I can help them out of that place. But if I have a guide and I don't know how to find things out myself, it probably would not be so much effective. So I'd rather get a map, figure it out myself, and then I can help others in that journey of escaping on that from that island as well. So that's
Oh,
what I
that's
would do.
nice. That's nice because I will pick I will pick a coach. If I get the map, I'll be more lost. Oh my days. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all these insights. Like I really, really appreciate, and I hope that everyone could use these models you shared with us. You talked about purpose, how we can look up, look behind, look around us to find purpose. Thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you to connect with you? We also spoke about his book, The 1% Code. Let me just open the floor to you. Where do people find you to connect with you and your leadership? The outreach you're doing with leadership training and all that.
Well, I'm available on almost all the social media platforms you can think about. So Seyi Agbede is my name on all. But the most likely place you would find me is on LinkedIn. So just search for Seyi Agbede on LinkedIn, and you can find out about all the things that I do, my several initiatives, my book, all my events, my conferences, the Growth Code coaching program, and all of that. You would find those online.
All right, thank you so much. And that's a wrap, guys. That's a wrap, the fourth episode of the On Purpose series. Until next time, I hope you can use some of these ideas shared on today's episode to, find purpose, fulfill purpose. I mean, I'm definitely going to use some of this model that he shared, how to optimize performance, take transformative action. Well, if you don't take action, what are we going to do? So thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I remain Chioma Ochulo. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.